Hello my buddies! Welcome to a video with Kim Tech. My name is Kim. Apology again for the lack of activities as work is still busy, if not busier than before, and we just wrapped up remodeling our front and backyard. What a process that was, but we learned a lot from it. Today we'll be viewing the Ninja Swirl by CREAMi, soft serve and ice cream machine. Timestamps are in the description box below so you can skip to the sections you want. Okay, let's get started. Out of the box, the Ninja Swirl comes with the main machine, which is called the motor base, two 16-ounce CREAMi swirl pints with nozzles, two pint storage lids, one dispense lid, one swirl press, which comes pre-installed. There's a drip tray, an outer bowl, a paddle, an owner's guide, and a recipe book. Although there's no actual setup needed, there's some prepping involved in making the ice cream, soft serve, gelato, or the other available programs before your taste buds can actually get their gooey bodies on the sweet treats. Before going into prepping or following the recipe book, I made sure to wash all the accessories prior to using them, and I recommend you do the same because we don't know what the manufacturer was like. The main thing to note about the prepping process is that you would place the mixture into the CREAMi swirl pint, making sure not to pass the max fill line, then freeze the pint for at least 24 hours. Unless you're making soft serve out of the store-bought ice cream, almost all of the recipes call for freezing the swirl pint for 24 hours. I'll talk a little bit more about the recipe book in the review section. Anyway, the reason that I wanted to review the Ninja Swirl and bought it with my own money is because I love soft serve. I can eat soft serve all year long, even in the winter. Now granted, I live in California. However, I tasted soft serve for the first time on our first trip to Japan, which happened to be a cheese soft serve in the Hokkaido region, which is well known for their amazing dairy products. So I fell in love with soft serve ever since. And our last trip to Japan, I was eating soft serve almost every day, even though it was in January. That's my little soft serve story. Share with me your soft serve story in the comment section below. Now, before we go into the review portion, I want to make a disclaimer that I'm not a professional chef. I'm a self-proclaimed home cook at best. My review is based on my own personal experience, so it may be different from yours. To start, the Ninja Swirl has been compared to the PacoJet, which is a very expensive machine, and it does more than just soft serve. I don't have experience with it, but you're welcome to check out other YouTube videos that go into this. First off, I think Ninja did a great job with the owner's guide and recipe book. People don't often talk about the booklets that come with a machine as they are a very boring topic. However, I do appreciate when those booklets are well written and not confusing with important callouts in the notes sections. Ninja definitely put some thoughts into the recipe book as well because there's a general ingredients and substitutes page. This is great for someone who may have health issues where they cannot eat certain ingredients or they don't have certain ingredients readily available but can still whip something up if they have the substitutes. I normally search online when I don't have an ingredient if I'm following a certain recipe. So having the recipe book already telling me what the substitutes are, that's much appreciated. The same page also briefly explains about xanthan gum, which is a thickening agent that most people may not have readily available in their pantry. I know I didn't as I purely bought it for the testing of the Ninja Swirl. It's noteworthy that if you're on a keto diet, then consider looking for a non-GMO xanthan gum or use guar gum. Please do your own research as I'm not a health expert. It's noteworthy that there are a total of 23 labeled easy recipes, 4 labeled intermediate recipes, and 3 labeled advanced recipes in the recipe book. However, you can spin it off by swapping out ingredients, so the varieties are endless. The Ninja Swirl sits nicely on our kitchen counter. I didn't have any issue using the handle to dispense the soft serve. However, if the height from your kitchen counter to the bottom of your shelves is shorter than 17.52 inches, then you may need to find a different place for this appliance to sit. So I watched other YouTube videos before purchasing the Ninja Swirl, and I can only recall one YouTuber being realistic on how loud this machine is. I don't know how it doesn't bother the others, but this thing is loud, dude. It's louder than my Synology server. Now, let me take a quick step back and explain about sound measurement to give you a better understanding of the Ninja Swirl when it's in its processing stage. Depending on the sources, the decibel readings may be a bit different for various sounds, and decibel is the measurement of the loudness of sounds. However, they are not too far apart from one another. For example, whispering can be as low as 20 dB based on Audiolab, while it's represented at 30 dB on audiology.com for the American Academy of Audiology website and the National Institute of Deafness and Other Communication Disorder website. Here are some results from my noise test using the Decibel X app on my iPhone, and please note this is not a perfect test. The max on my Synology server was 45.4 dB and average was 44.1 dB. And the phone was sitting 1 inch away or 2.54 centimeter from the Synology. And the Ninja Swirl was hitting it hard in the beginning of the processing stage, maxing out at 84.4 dB while averaging at 80.7 dB, with the phone being about 6 inches away from it. Toward the end of the last 1 to 2 minutes of processing, it did come down to an average of 66.7 dB and max was 69.1 dB. Pretty much, I cannot stand in front of the Ninja Swirl the whole time that is processing because it's just too much for me. I'm not going to review the Ninja Swirl on the technicality of its ice cream making process because it's technically not making ice cream in the traditional sense. In short, ice cream is technically made by churning the mixture as it freezes to prevent or minimize large water crystal formation and to incorporate air into the mixture to create the soft texture. However, the Ninja Swirl kind of just grinds up the already frozen quote-unquote ice cream to either be dispensed as soft serve or eaten as scooped ice cream. And if you're wondering if the final products taste bad, then the answer is no, as long as you get your mixture right. My first mixture was using the chocolate soft serve recipe, but swapped the cocoa powder with matcha powder. And it tasted good, even though I used the soft serve CREAMi Fit program instead of the soft serve ice cream per the recipe book. So the processing step is pretty forgiving. I also noticed that although soft serve and scoop shared some programs, the processing time for soft serve is longer than scoop. I'm not going to go over each one individually, but the screen should show a diagram of the available programs and their time. For instance, when selecting soft serve ice cream, the processing time is 4 minutes, while selecting scoop ice cream, the processing time is 2 minutes. It makes sense though, as longer processing time means the Ninja Swirl spins more. With the extra spin time, the mixture becomes softer, which makes it easier to dispense for soft serve. Although the prepping is fairly simple depending on what you're trying to make, and the treats afterward taste pretty good, I have a big problem with the cleaning. I like that a lot of the parts can be disassembled for a more thorough cleaning. However, I cannot thoroughly clean 3 parts, which are the dispense lid, the swirl pine space, and the spindle. I spent a good 15 minutes running the dispense lid under my sink faucet until the water became clear. But as you can see from the screen, that's a lot of wasted water and time because chunks of matcha kept coming out. There's no way for me to tell if it's completely clean because what if there's a corner that it's stuck in where the water didn't get to? I would never know without breaking the dispense lid. The swirl pine space is another one. You need a specific cleaning brush to get the curvature of the stem of that base. Even then, we may not be able to fully clean the black rubber piece. As for the spindle, I tried to unscrew the 4 screws underneath the control panel to see if I could lift the cover up and clean the spindle from the inside because I saw that it was possible with the old Ninja CREAMi ice cream maker. However, I couldn't, And I didn't want to break anything that would void the warranty since I'll be returning this. Uh-oh, foreshadowing of the overall review portion. Dun dun dun. Do let me know in the comment section if you're able to take the cover off to clean the spindle, because I'm really curious and interested to know. Anyway, before we wrap up with my overall thoughts, let me share some helpful tips or things to note, and they are in no particular order. First, let me share again here the self-serve and scoop program diagram in case anyone skipped through the earlier section of this video. You can take a screenshot if you need it or find it helpful. You can also give this video a like as well. After each processing, when the program is complete, you cannot select another program right away. You need to unlock the outer bowl first and lock it again before you can select another program. For example, after the soft serve ice cream program is done, you cannot select respin until you unlock the outer bowl and lock it back for you to do the respin. It's noteworthy that Ninja doesn't recommend to use fresh fruits with the mix-in option because they will water down your results. The paddle should go through your mixture in the processing step. So if you take out the swirl pint and notice that the paddle barely scratches the surface, then consider doing a respin if you are going to use the dispense function and want a smoother treat. It would still dispense as soft serve because that's what I ran into the first time when the paddle didn't completely process to the bottom of the pint. So the result was not as smooth as the second time around. Since we just mentioned the respin option, this option can be used when you take the swirl pint straight out from the freezer. So you don't necessarily need to process it first with any of the other options if you think the respin is sufficient for your needs. However, the respin is only 1 minute of processing, so not sure how good that is if you're using it on the pint that just came out of the freezer. Unfortunately, we cannot dial in and change the time of the respin, which kind of sucks because what if I want something custom that isn't available with the other options? I guess I'd have to play with the different combinations. Another tip is to ensure the dispense lid is always retracted before releasing the pint, because you won't be able to release the pint if it's not retracted. And you can hit the retract program option to do so. Aside from making sure to close the pint base and flattening the top of your frozen treat before refreezing the leftover, ensure that the nozzle is removed and cleaned with no mixture stuck to it if you're going to place it back on the pint, as you may get an error since it'll create a barrier preventing the soft serve from dispensing. Although you can mix the mixture inside the swirl pint, I'd recommend to mix everything inside a separate bowl and pour that mixture into the swirl pint. This is in case the mixture gets clumped at the bottom grooves of the pint, which makes it really hard to clean afterward. This was what happened when I used xanthan gum in my first experiment, which stuck quite well to the pockets at the bottom of the pint. And let me tell you, cleaning was a pain. Talking about cleaning, Ninja states that all parts are to rack dishwasher safe, but I wouldn't recommend it unless you're just making sorbet or something that isn't thick, because I don't think the dishwasher would get in the crevices well enough to clean everything completely. Overall, the Ninja Swirl does not make me want to eat soft serve, unfortunately. I rather not eat it at all, and when I'm in Japan, then I'll get my fix there. It's just way too much work, in my opinion, for me, especially the cleaning, and I'm not even sure if it's fully clean. I don't have enough time as it is, so this just doesn't work for me. I'm not saying it won't work for you. If you have the time to clean up after it, then by all means, I think this is fun to use, particularly with small children or at small gatherings. Anyway, please stay tuned for my next video on how to clean the Ninja Swirl. I want to share with you how to clean this machine, or at least clean it as much as you can in case you do keep yours, because I won't be keeping mine. Thank you for staying to the end of this video. I hope you have found it helpful. If you do, please click the thumbs up and subscribe. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it down below. Thank you again for watching this video and have yourself a nice day or night wherever you are, my buddies. Until next time, bye.